from the field of psychology, where you ask the physicists, what is matter then? And their answer is, never mind, we really don't know what matter is. And particularly in the post-Newtonian time, the time of quantum physics, subatomic physics, nobody really knows what matter is, and nobody really knows what mind is too. But we are getting closer to this reality of what mind is all about. And the tremendous research which has gone on for last 25, 30 years, particularly in the field of neuroscience, has made the function of mind quite palpable, quite something which can be grasped, something which can be understood, which can be communicated. Otherwise, it used to be only a metaphysical or of experience which people told, and it didn't have kind of a scientific validity. Now, with the help of the neurosciences, particularly the functional MRI and the PET scans, the CT scans, and the advanced EEGs, evoke potentials, we have been able to study almost to the level put out by Municipal Corporation of Greater Bombay. Their studies of various centers, the particular study that I'm talking about is Seven Hills, which is perhaps well known to IIT. All of us got our first vaccination at Seven Hills, and they have been studying the patients of COVID for many, many months now. And they've come out with statistics which is quite frightening. And they have seen that in the people who came for COVID, not necessarily for COVID treatment, but those who came for routine checkup, they found that there is 9% of the population suffered from severe depression of the population who came and visited the center. And there was 7 times increase in population suffering from depression. So this is that was a general population, but in COVID patient there was 7 times. It is 1.1% prevalence of depression. In the COVID patient, it turned out to be almost 8% population. There was 5 times increase in anxiety disorders as reported in COVID by COVID patients, and almost 65% of the patients who had coronavirus touch, 65% of them suffered from sleep disorders, acute stress, which was very frightening with severe mental symptoms, was present in 70% of the population. It's a huge population. The World Health Organization recently talked about depression and mental health problems. Almost 25% of the population, which I think at the end of this year, 2021, 22, they will come out with the statistic like 50% of the population has requirement of some kind of counseling. And we are all scared as people from the mental health profession that who is going to help them? I mean, where is the source of human source to reach out to so many thousands and thousands of people who are actually suffering from mental distress, essentially because of the pandemic that we are going through. So this has been terrible time. So I think that again the technology is coming to our help, and I can reach out to many people, and many of my colleagues are reaching out to thousands of people. I have conducted, I must have reached lakh population just to tell them about how to handle their own mental situation. So this is what the common symptoms that I see in patient. Now I'm speaking about not general population, but I'm speaking about the population that I see in IIT hospital twice a week, where I see common symptoms which IIT students, and we have PhD and MTech students. They earlier I used to have about a couple of them a week. Now almost every OPD I have about 4 or 5 PhD and MTech students. Away for 4 months, 5 months, almost uh, unexpectedly and suddenly pushed away, and they are there, so they don't know what purpose they're serving, what are they actually doing, and what it is like to be away from family, and what it is to be like with the family after so many years. Some of them have done their BTech, MTech away from family, and now they're in the family and they don't know how to handle the family. Their old grandparents, their parents, always after them, asking them several questions, and they don't know, they are absolutely clueless as to what is happening in their own life. There is also a symptom called loss of interest, anhedonia. They come and say that, well, we are working, our guide gives us topic, gives us tasks, but I don't know what I'm doing. I have lost interest in terms of I'm interested in my work, but this really doesn't excite me as it used to excite me earlier. Then there is loss of direction because I was lost for a long time. Some of the work which was done, which was pending, which is incomplete, and now I have to work on that. So I have lost the direction in which I have to move, and there is constant feeling of loneliness. So these are the common symptoms that the students talk about. And what is the total impact? These are psychiatric symptoms or psychological symptoms with which people come and which people tell us. But what is the total impact of these symptoms on their mind? And the impact is like their impaired ability to focus on the subject, whether they're reading a paper, they're presenting a paper, or talking in the web, or interacting with their guide on call, online, offline, any which way. Difficulty in remaining focused, ability to control and keep the focused on is a difficult job for the students. Their attention seems to be diffused. It's like we have students who are very focused, very with high degree of concentration. Now they say my concentration is wavering. I'm here right now and I'm not there. Next moment I may be somewhere else, worrying about a family member, worrying about myself, worrying about whether something will happen to me or to my family members. So poor concentration. They've seen at very young age, 25, between 25 and 30, they say, it's like I remember a PhD student walked in and said, sir, what is the onset age of dementia? I said, why you ask a question like that? He said, I'm read it on the Google and I find that there is loss of uh, attention or concentration and immediate recall of the task that I'm doing. I said, come on, your mind, you are fresh. This is not dementia. This is just a symptom of your loss of attention, and there is anxiety that you experience. Then some of the students have come and said that they try to be attentive, but suddenly they are in trance moment and they are not there. They're at their home and they're somewhere else. And again, they have said that their productivity has gone down significantly. They have to use the same energy, a lot of energy to put out the same kind of work that they have been doing. So this is one thing which they have said. Again, what is the effect? They say generally there is loss of efficiency, loss of confidence. They say, will I be able to finish the work? Will I be able to reach my final destination? There is sleep cycle disturbance, which is again very common, as we know. Students sleep at 3 o'clock at night and wake up at about 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock or whatever. Now that sleep cycle is also gone for a toss, and they don't know when they will sleep when they are awake. There is they have always been feeling optimistic as to their work, about their reference of their work in other countries, going to other countries, doing their work, postdoctoral work, and also one thing that they have repeatedly said is that their mind is wandering, is not present. It is wandering either in the past or in the future, and then the statement I make to them is, my dear friends, wandering mind is unhappy mind. So when we are dwell in the past or when we dwell in the future, we are not happy. We do not recalling pleasant moments. We are not thinking about the great desire and the great dreams that we have, or the ambition that we have to, do your postdoc research or postdoc work and finding a good job, getting married, and creating their own space in the field of science. So that is something which is not there, and there is a uh, constant feeling of that mind is wandering, and I'm unhappy about. Now, some of the students that I have been observing, and like it includes faculty, staff, people who are in IIT, some observations which are made, and I think they make sense because they talk about the general attitude about mental health. And one thing that I've found is that the general attitude is that of trivializing emotions. You know, emotions are not really important part of life. It's my research, it's my work, it's my science, it's my technology, it's my lab, it's my research papers that I read. That really matter. The sharp mind, the brilliant mind, the intelligent mind that matters. Forgetting that we live by our emotions, and emotional intelligence perhaps is a very large part of our living. So kind of trivializing emotions has been there in the population that I see for last many years. Then there is also one ability to be in touch with oneself. Like in the song from that movie Gulam, I think, Amir Khan takes, it says that फोन लगा अपने दिल को जरा पूछ ले ये क्या है माजरा है क्या हो रहा है तेरे दिल में जरा पूछ ले that means stop, pause, be connected to your heart. That means be connected to your mind and find out what your mind is saying right now. Is it confused? Is it chaotic? Is it turbulent? Is it confused? Is it indecisive? Don't just slip it under the carpet and say, no, no, I'm fine, I'm fine. Don't get into that denial mode. Just be aware of what your thoughts, your emotions, everything is. Then there is when stress occurs. This is again very peculiar that we have seen in general, but in IIT students also. I made it a point to check whether this is true for IIT students. When I ask them, "Are you under stress?" Then what do you think about this stress? This question itself confuses them. Said, "What do you think about your stress?" That means how you relate to your stress. How do you react to your stress? Then they say, yes, yes, I react to stress. And when they generally talk, I come out with three main things, three P's that I observe in students and in general population. What is this three P's? They always look at stressful event as if it's a permanent event, as if it's going to stay, it's not going to pass, it's not impermanent, it is not temporary. Stress is going to be permanent. Almost all of us think that this whole pandemic, this whole COVID and whole business is almost permanent business that doesn't seem to be light at the end of the tunnel. This seems to be going on and on and on. That sense of permanence is quite frightening. Second thing that the students come out and say is that pervasiveness. That means they are feeling this is all through pervading all aspects of my life. Just my life in the community, in the IIT, with my friends, with my work, with my family, with my girlfriend, with my boyfriend, romantic, erotic, whatever it is, this stress has invaded every space of my mind. So it is very pervasive in nature. Third thing that they say, which I think is very, very important for all of us to understand, is that they think they make the stress extremely personalized, as if it's only their personal situation, as if this is very unique, as if this has never happened to anyone. They walk in and say, I'm feeling low. Is it okay to feel low? It's as if they're asking my permission. They're asking the permission, is it okay to feel low? And this question frightens me. And I tell them it's absolutely okay to feel low because this is part of your life as a human being. There are going to be mood swings, there are going to be times when you're going to feel good, you're going to feel bad. This is part of your human life. It's okay that you feel, don't personalize it. Any kind of mishap, and you make it पर्सनलाइज ये मुझे दुख क्यों हो रहा है ये मुझे क्यों हो रहा है as if you are the first person to suffer a million suffering you are part of the whole community the whole humanity which is suffering. Lord Buddha himself said the first thing that he realized about life is dukkha, is that this discomfort, this suffering is part of human life. This cannot be denied. This cannot be washed. This cannot be pushed away. This cannot be put under carpet. You can't say that I have no suffering. You can't say that I'm absolutely fine because I'm very super, super intelligent. No, can't deny that. So it's very, very important to understand that this is not personal, but this is a human suffering. This is not personal suffering alone, but suffering as a part of your life. And we need to work on how to work on our own suffering. What is our own relationship to stress? What is our own relationship to the experience that we are going through right now? And when this kind of thinking is there, this is the reactions of seeing it as a permanent, as pervasive and personal. It creates a lot of cognitive distortion. They really can't see the world the way it exists. They see only through the filtered eye. There is no clarity of thoughts. There is no, and all the images and imaginations they get. So I ask them, what is it that you imagine when you close your eyes at night? They say, I can't see anything. Some of them are grieving. They say, I just see the dead body of my father or my uncle or my grandfather, which is very common in any kind of grief reaction. But the television has made it so blatant that these kind of imagination, these kind of images stick to people's mind because it sees because of the stress condition. It's like this emotion of fear, emotion of guilt, emotion of uncertainty is like so severe. It's like I tell them it's like a Velcro effect. Understand that emotions are a Velcro effect. Velcro is something which sticks together. It's like a gum which is stuck on the backside of the postage stamp. Some of the young people may not have seen postage stamp being stuck to an envelope and delivered at your place. But there is something at the back with which you stick the stamp. It is invisible. You just see the picture. You just see the thoughts, but don't understand the emotions that are right behind those thoughts, which stick to the mind. And your memory gets corrupted, corroded by all these emotional distresses that you have experienced in the near past or in the past. What I find in students is the not general feeling of, the tragic feeling, but they bring back all the tragedies in their past. Then they will talk about, I didn't do so well in 12th and I had to repeat. No, I didn't do so well in my IIT. I didn't get an admission. But this is about 6 years old story now, but you're bringing it back because emotions have power to bring back all unhappy events and they make it as if they're living it now. So this is what happens. This happens to almost everyone, and this is what we see in our students too. Now, what is the total impact of again of this kind of mental state? Very rightly said by Kundu, sir. We have to come back, sir. We call it resilience. What is resilience? Resilience is the ability to bounce back, to come back. It's like you have a rubber band which you stretch, you leave it, it goes back to its original state. So that's a resilience. That's the elasticity of the matter that you pull it and goes back its original size and shape. Does that happen to human mind? Is it true for human mind? Yes, human mind has ability to be resilient, but it's something which we have lost. Currently, it's lost. It's like I tell them a story. It's like the lost sandal of the shoe of Cinderella. I mean, she went for a party. You came here. There's a party, huge thing. It's 12 o'clock, and Cinderella had to rush back, and she forgot her glass sandal at the gala party. And she comes home and says, "Oh my God, I've lost something which was so very important in my life." So it's like you've lost the shoe. It's like a lost sandal, the glass sandal of Cinderella. Go and find out. And like the fairy tale, there is no Prince Charming going to come and search for, where is my Cinderella? Can I return the sandal to her? No, we have to go and find out where my lost sandal is. This is no fairy tale. You need to put a lot of effort. We need to work on our resilience. It's not going to be a fairy tale come true. It's not a mythology coming true. We have to work on ourselves. So this ability of being able to integrate, I say that integrate the painful memories in our whole personality and learn from that personality, learn from that experience, that is known, that can be called as resilience. So it's just like if you push a ball under the water surface, you remove the hand, it comes back, it bounces back. What we are looking for is this bounce back, and we are looking for this resilience. Now, this is very, very important because maybe the pandemic will end soon, but this will take some time, some months, maybe a year or two for us to get back to real original self that we were in 2020 or 2019. What is this? What does this post-traumatic? Then this is also known as post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. If you are watching American movies, they show lots of American veterans suffering from PTSD. If you have seen the series Homeland from Hotstar, the guy there suffered from PTSD. He had recollections. He almost lived all those moments again and again. So that PTSD is a very frightening, very, very frightening mental experience that people have. And there is because of this PTSD, it may be there for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but those 15 minutes take away all the energy that we have, and we complain of loss of energy and the burnout just moment away. The fatigue is just moment away. We are just managing to survive, just managing to do things. But I hope the balance doesn't tilt and we get into a burnout stage. And that's what is very, very important, that we don't get into a burnout stage. Now there is a new word which has come, which is not called PTSD. It is called PTG. Now what is PTG? PTG means post-traumatic growth. It's just not bouncing back. It's just not going back to the original state, but going back and coming out better than what you were earlier. It's like this whole pandemic, this whole experience has been a learning experience for us. It's what has taught us. It's a very interesting way people currently, recently read it. We say that the world, the world or the God or whatever doesn't play dice. So this is what Einstein said, God doesn't play dice. So the nature has played a dice and it's done a huge psychological experiment with the human race and challenged the human race. Say, let's see how you come out. Let's see where you go from here. What will you learn from pandemic? So it's a huge, frightening experience of pandemic that we are going through. And we need to get into this, not PTSD, but PTG, that is post-traumatic growth. And to do that, I usually use a metaphor. The metaphor of a doll, which I studied, you must have studied, everyone must have studied in science class, maybe when we were in school, high school, 8th or 9th standard. There used to be a doll, which is a heavy bottom, like a bulb or something, electric bulb, and heavier on the lower side. And they used to put a small doll there, and you push it around, and goes round and round and round and round and stops. That means it goes back to its original place. It occupies its own space. Though the time is spent in going round, it comes back to its original place. And they used to explain the whole idea of center of gravity is so very important for us to keep the balance, because that balance can be restored only when you know how the center of gravity moves and finally comes to a rest in a particular point. So this is the reality. And it's not that the force of gravity was discovered by Newton. It always existed. It will exist whether there is Newton or not. Even if it was not there, gravity still existed. So this possibility of creating resilience is there within us. In fact, some of the epics that we read, the mythology that we read, is replete with these stories of, the kings going through terrible times and finally, making it to life again and becoming alive and kicking and being better. The whole story of Krishna, Rama, is all about resilience as to how they came back to life, how they became more powerful than what they were before Ram was sent to 14 years of jungle to stay. So how do we do that? So let's understand resilience as resilience and how do resilient people, let's see, how do resilient people see life? Okay, see, if we are learning to be resilient, let's say how resilient people, those who have come back, those who have grown through this experience, how do they see life? They see a very interesting metaphor which is very often used in Buddhist literature, is that in a calm lake, you throw a small pebble and you will see ripples. So the resilient people have a calm state of mind. Generally, we need to work on it. Generally, they have calm state of mind. You throw a stone, you throw a rock, and there are ripples. These ripples appear and slowly pass on. But this happens only in a calm surface of a lake or a pond. If the lake is already turbulent, you throw a stone, you'll not even be able to see the ripples because already it is in chaotic condition. So that calmness is their basic state of mind in which all the stressful events appear as ripples, they appear and they pass. So this is how they see life, as a calm, tranquil experience of life, ups and downs coming and passing. So they see this life as resilient people see life as this calm, tranquil process of living, very, very human. They also understand what values are guiding them. They go back to their values and find out what is it that kicks them, what is it their passion lies, what is the discovered purpose of life. There is no purpose of life which is given to us, and we need to discover it for ourselves. We need to find passion, the purpose with which we are living. And they learn skills constantly, sharpening skills all the time, all the time. This word skill is very important. You know why? Because in this intellectual world, the world of IIT, in the world of engineer, the world of technology, everything has become an intellectual game of understanding. But skill is body learning. It's like you need to, if you want to learn swimming, it's like कबीर के दोहे में कहते हैं कि भाई आपको तैरना सीखना है तो पानी में डुबकी मारनी है। ये आप बैठ के अपने पाँव पानी में डाल रहे हो तो पानी का टेम्परेचर क्या है इतना ही मालूम पड़ेगा, तैरना नहीं आएगा. So they are willing to jump into it. They stop playing that intellectual game. Let me understand. Some of the people who come and say, let me understand what is really going wrong with me. I said, you can write a paper on it. You can write a scientific paper on what really is going wrong with you. But writing that paper, reading about how things are going, it's an intellectual game. You need to learn skills. You need to internalize and not just keep it at intellectual level. So this is a very important part of this resilience. Then we have to ask ourselves, we want to be in this pandemic and ask, what do we want to find out? We want to know what is the center of gravity of human life? The poor doll goes round and round because उसमें कुछ lead कुछ तो भरेला रहता है, घूमती है और अपने position पे आ जाती है. लेकिन for us, what is the center of gravity for us in our life? We have to discover. And one thing I can say, center of gravity cannot be wandering mind. It cannot be. You need to be in a driver's seat. And I tell them, imagine all these negative emotions, negative cognitions, memories which are sitting with you, they are inside you, and you are driving a bus. And all these are unticketed passengers who are there in your bus, and you are driving it. Will you allow a negative memory, negative emotion to take the driver's seat? वो तो खड्डे में जाके गिर जाएगी. नहीं होगा ऐसे. You are the driver. You are the hero. You have to drive it on your own. So need to take that into account. Only then it is possible for us to go in the right direction. So what do we do? So the question many times I ask is that, are you looking for purpose of life? I said, well, we can have a very good discussion on it. It's basically a metaphysical and a philosophical discussion. And what we want to do is find meaning in life, purpose in life, the way it exists, not what is written in the book, not what is written in the scriptures. And this was a beautiful discovery made by Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl was a Jew psychiatrist incarcerated in Auschwitz. And when he was there, he found his whole family had been killed. Nobody really knew what's happening there. And everybody had these rumors, inkling about the gas chambers, people being killed, etc., etc. But Viktor Frankl describes a very beautiful experience. He says, in my cell, which is very small, there is a small window, there is a small crack in the wall almost, and I see through the crack, I see a small twig of a tree, a branch of a tree, and every day a bird comes and sings there. That bird singing gave him so much of inspiration. He said the bird has the ability to live in this life. The bird, this is a metaphor. Please don't interpret bird ko kya malum hai, kya ho raha hai. No, don't see it that way. See it as a metaphorical experience. And he says, I found the purpose is not something which is given. I need to find the purpose in my life on my own. I have to make a meaning out of all this that's happening. And I need to respond, not react. I'm not reacting anymore now. I'm going to respond to this horrifying situation. I think our situation is a million times better than Viktor Frankl, and we can really work towards post traumatic growth. Okay. So this is a then how do we do that? The, the, the idea is to understand your experience, understand these emotions that we are going, and based on these experience, we start interpreting them. We make it as a human experience, and that turn everything is turned into enhancing life. That is resilience. How can it enhance? How can this experience enhance my life force? How can it help me to go back to my passion of being a student, being a teacher, being a human being? And that passion and that compassion and reaction is the essence of resilience. And how, where do we get the answer? The answer of becoming resilient, doing all that I said, doing all that I said, the answer lies in being mindful, being aware. And human brain is the only brain which is capable of this awareness. All rest of the mammalians they do experience anger, hatred, fear, dog, cats, elephants, everyone experience, but they don't know that they're experiencing it. So the human brain has got this tremendous ability to not just be aware, but be meta-aware, aware that we are aware. That's why we think, I seem to be thinking negative thoughts. So there are thoughts I'm thinking negative, and I also know that I'm thinking negative. So I just not thought, but there is a meta thought. There is a cognition and there is metacognition. I think Shaukat sir will be able to talk more about it. There is cognition, there is metacognition. Why? Because the human brain has this capacity. It's just not a reptile brain, which is a spinal cord. It's just not a limbic brain or the emotional brain. It's a neocortex, which is sitting right behind the forehead, which matters a lot, which has given us this technology, which has put us on the moon, which is trying to find out everything in the world, which creates that vaccine or which makes that virus. Sorry to say that, but that's just what being human. That neocortex is the story of life. So we are not just capable of awareness, but we are capable of awareness of awareness. So very interestingly, this is come as a as additional information to students. Well, are you aware that in Harvard, the most popular course, most popular elective was delivered by Tal Ben Shehed, who was a Jew professor of psychology, who very hesitatingly started this course on happiness and positive psychology. And to begin with, just had 6 students. And when he left the institute, there were 1,500 students waiting to get into the course of happiness. I think IIT should wake up to that reality, and we should have courses on emotional intelligence, positive psychology. I mean, the world is beaming with these ideas. All the Ivy universities have this. So, and he talks about ABC, and I didn't like that word, so I call it, everyone is talking about losing fat, right? Everyone is talking about losing fat, and we want to work on the fat. We want to grow fat. What is fat? FAT. What is F stands for? F stands for feelings. So resilience is about feelings. Resilience is about actions, and resilience is about thoughts. So FAT. Don't forget, very simple acronym, FAT. So if you forget everything and just remember, resilience is all about feelings, actions, and cognitions, I think we have done our work. So how do we develop these, which he calls it ABC. He calls feelings with effect, which is rather a psychological word from the field of psychology. So I avoided it. So I called it FAT rather than ABC. He calls action, behavior, and cognitions. I call it feelings, action, and thoughts. The feelings are, what are feelings? Feelings, I'm making these statements especially relevant here. I will have about 7-8 minutes more, and then I'll be able to finish. What is emotion? We are very shy of emotions. By and large, we are very shy. It's the word which Tal uses is that permit yourself to experience emotion. What a beautiful way to say. Permit yourself to be angry. But that means permit yourself to be angry. Feel the anger. It isn't say permit yourself to be violent. No, permit yourself to experience uh, as human being, as anger is a part of life. We need to acknowledge the presence of emotions. We can't push it away. Say, no, it's everything all fine. No, no, I'm not angry. I'm not anxious. I'm not sad. You can be. So permitting yourself, learning the vocabulary is a very simple exercise that we do in emotional intelligence. Ask people to write. I give them a word called word happiness or sadness, and I ask them to write as many words as possible to write about sad feeling. People just stop it 2, 3, 4. Happiness just stop with 2, 3, 4. Because the vocabulary is poor. Why vocabulary is important? Because it expresses the shades of emotions. And we acknowledge them, can we put them into words? Very, very important. Indian thoughts is about Nava Rasa, 9 kinds of, rasa, 9 kinds of experience we have, 9 kinds. And there are shades, mix of this. Very interesting story in Mahabharata when at the end of the war, the widows used to go. It's a very, very heartbreaking story of women going there, wives going and searching the field to find out who is this dead body is. And they used to be relieved, it's not my husband, it's not my son. But some other woman would come and start weeping. What a situation. This is the range of emotions that human beings experience. And we should be able to understand, acknowledge, give vocabulary, and also validate these emotions, that they are possible. And these emotions can be extreme anger, extreme sadness, extreme happiness, all kinds of shades. They can be rare experience, this can be unpleasant, pleasant, any kind of experience. Very important part of it is being able to witness these emotions. Witness, that means you already create a distance between you and your emotion. You are not thoughts. You are not emotions. There are emotions in your mind. There is a thought in my mind. I am separate from it. I can't identify with an emotion. I can't identify with a thought. There is a thought. There is an emotion. That means we learn. The skill is learning to witness, learning to see that there is a thought. There is a thought. So once you learn to see a thought as thought, you also learn that it appears like a ripple, it appears and passes, appears and passes. That is possible when you witness it. So it's like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says once that if you touch a hot surface or a cold surface, you'll feel the heat and the cold in your hand. But how long will it last? Till the object is in touch with the sensory object. And when it is removed, it's gone. Tantitikshasva kaunteya. Just observe it, tolerate it. This is what he says. And then when you learn that, learn to passing it. Remember I talked about permanence? The, 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 the response to that permanence is that it is impermanent in nature. Emotions are there, they are there, they're like ripples, they come and pass, come and pass. We don't have to hold them. Only when we hold them, they stick around, they're like a postage stamp, they stick around, they don't go away. They have the Velcro effect. We want a Teflon effect in life. Then many people go, sir, teach me how to control emotions. I say, sorry, I don't know how to control. I need to regulate. I need to see how intensity is. How can I reduce the intensity? And also when you're in that state, it's possible. When you pass through this, let these emotions pass, some creativity will emerge. Right? Actions. Very interesting word which is being used these days. Life is neck down. Life is neck down. We have been living here in the brain. Life is also neck down. So physical exercises are very important. I have been exercising twice a day. All these years I've been exercising only once a day. I have 45 minutes, 1 hour schedule in the morning. I have now 1 hour schedule in the evening. Just keep my body in a fit condition. Because when I'm doing that, I'm with my body. I am experiencing the exercise, the movements of my own muscles and joints. So very, very important. And so neck down experiences are there. And what these neck down in exercise experiences are, they become skills. Very, very important. Very, very important that we turn resilience is not an idea. Resilience is not a concept. Resilience is a skill. We need to learn the skill, because once we become skilled person, Buddha calls it kushala kamma. Once you get into this kushala kamma, we know that it becomes easy for us to do it. It saves time. It becomes very easy. Just walk into it. It's like some of our female participants are there. If you learn how to ये चपाती बेलना है, बनाना है, शुरू में बहुत टाइम लगता है, बाद में फटाफट हो जाती है. साइकिल पे सीखना है, 10 टाइम गिर जाते हैं, बाद में स्किल्ड हो जाते हैं. तैरना पहले नहीं आता. Buttoning shirt was difficult job for a 3-year-old child. That's easy. Why? Because you have learned skills. Brushing teeth, skill. There are so many skills that we have learned. Skills are hardwired businesses in the brain, and we need to create new hardwired links in our brain. New hardware, and when the neurons which fire together, they wire together. So you do it again and again and again and again, becomes hardwired in your brain. And resilience is no more a thought, no more, is not a lecture that you go and attend. It's not what you read in the books. It's not what you see on the TV. Resilience becomes reality because it becomes a skill. It becomes part of your neck down line. And so that is the action, and last but not the least is the thought. And I referred to it as earlier because resilient people don't have distorted cognitions. They don't see world as a dirty place. They don't see world as a dark. They see the world the way it exists, the way it is. So being able to get rid of all those filters of negative emotions, negative thoughts out of our mind and see the world the way it exists is clarity of thoughts. So resilient people have clarity of thoughts. They don't see the world through a judgmental eye. They see it the way it exists. And then finally, otherwise we are too idealistic, romantic. And one more thing which I've said in almost all my sessions is about everyone. If you go on a social media, if you go on a WhatsApp, who, this, that, everybody is feeding with you. Be positive, be positive, be positive. Think about this. Good morning. See this bird, see this, the waves, see the scenery, see the mountains, lakes, what not. And this becomes toxic positivity. What they say is hide your negative emotions. No, it's toxic positivity. We don't want that kind of toxic positivity. And finally, we learn what is mindfulness. Just a couple of minutes more, I'll just be able to tell you about definition of mindfulness. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is the original word. The source of the word mindfulness, coined in 1885 by Wills Davis, a Scottish man who translated Pali into English text for the first time. Till then, it was only learned by heart. And he gave the word mindfulness to Samma Sati. Sati means Shruti. Shruti means memory. That means being aware. Like when you as a child, my mother, remember you are going to your uncle's place. Don't play mischief. So she said, remember. So that remember is awareness. Be aware that you are in a different place. So that is the Sammasati, that is the awareness. Mindfulness, John Kabat-Zinn has beautifully described as paying attention. Paying attention. Paying attention. What is paying attention? It's like a very simple metaphor. If I have a torch in my hand, I am in dark, and what do I do with the torch? I point it at different places. So I know from where the trouble may come. The torch doesn't solve my problems. It just shows me where the problem is. So when you pay attention, you have a choice of focusing your attention. It's like a torch moving around. Your attention keeps on moving around. Make it steady. Make it steady at one point. That is paying attention. On purpose. What is the purpose of doing mindfulness? To know what your mind is. When people ask me, you teach mindfulness, you teach how to empty the mind. I said, sorry, I don't teach how to empty the mind. I must tell first, what is the mind full of? And mind is full of so much of clutter, so much of nonsense. Be aware that there is nonsense and learn to ignore that nonsense. Remove the clutter from the mind so your mind is in the right place, in the present moment. So it's neither in the past nor in the future. It's here now. So ask me, am I mindful? Right now when I'm speaking to you, I'm looking at you, I'm looking at the screen. I'm 100% with you. There's nothing else in my life but talking to you, being completely mindful. This is not a prepared talk. I just made a few points here and there, but they just simply flow out of me, essentially because I'm completely paying attention on purpose to what is emerging in my mind. But what emerges in the mind are the body sensations, which can be pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, or they can be emotions, then can be intention, मेरे को ये करना है, वो करना है, जैसे meditation बैठ जाओ, अरे मेरे को तो कुकर लगाना है, अरे मेरे को तो ये पढ़ना है, मेरे को वो पढ़ना है, all intentions come up immediately, and intentions come impulses, अरे जाके उठ के मैं बैठता हूँ, अरे पैर में दुखने लगा है, let me get, all these are impulses, all they emerge in the mind, thoughts emerge in the mind, feelings emerge in the mind, imaginations, when I went for Vipassana, first thing I saw, आंख बंद करके देखता हूँ, मैंने एक टीचर को बोला आंख बंद करके देखता हूँ तो मुझे इससे बुद्धा का स्माइल दिखाई देता है, इससे इट्स एन ऑब्जेक्ट, डोंट फोकस ऑन इट, said it makes me feel good, oh that feeling good is going to pass, don't be attached to it. So oh my god, this new thing that I'm craving to see that face again and again, I'm craving to see that smile again and again, and that craving is troubling me because I don't get it again and again. So it's like opening eyes suddenly to a reality. This is what my mind contains. This is how my mind is working. I realize that. And so this is, when you are in that state, you don't become judgmental. Why should I have this? Remember I talked about permanent, pervasive, and personal. Personal comes here. Judgmental. Why should I suffer? Why this sensation? Why now? Why this? Why that? Why to me? Why not to people? Why people have? What people have? What do they have? Where are they? And where am I? All these questions are फिजूल है, लेकिन आते हैं और इतने पकड़ लेते हैं, जकड़ लेते हैं इंसान को, मन को छोड़ते नहीं. And that is what, that is what happens. And we need to be non-judgmental about self, non-judgmental about everything. It's only then you see the world the way it exists. Only then you see the breath. Because you say, मैं बराबर सांस ले रहा हूँ, मैं ठीक से ले रहा हूँ, मेरे को गुरुजी ने बोला था कि ऐसे लेना, बराबर बराबर हो रहा है कि नहीं? I said, you are being judgmental about your breath. Just breath is natural. Just experience it. Your nostrils. No judgment, no control. Just this is. This is how life exists at this moment. And when you experience that, that's a mindful moment. So the mindful moment will come and pass. So when I say I'm mindful, my mindfulness may not stay. I need to work on keeping the mindfulness there. And when people say, पर मेरा मन तो भटक जाता है, मैं क्या करूं? I say that's a beautiful moment, because moment you become aware that you are mindless, it's the first step towards becoming mindful. Now you know at least. Mindlessness is so bad. It's so malignant, so bad that mindless people don't know that they're mindless. So when you know you're mindless, it's the first step towards becoming mindful. You just open man ki aankhein khol, dekh le kya hai. So that is about the mindful definition, and you learn it. It's a skill. Keep on saying it's a skill. It's not a concept. It's not something which you read about. Develop it, cultivate it. You need to do it again and again. And to do that, the neuroscience tells us, yes, when you do this mindful meditation, when you are resilient, your brain changes. Your not mind, your brain changes. Your fibers change. Your brain functions in a different way. Amygdala, which is an emotional center, which is swollen in people who are mindless and angry and upset, shrinks literally and says, okay, my job is, I'm a sorter. I just say, यहाँ से वहाँ से वहाँ, इतना ही मेरा काम है, मैं इसको पकड़ के नहीं रखूँ. So amygdala becomes, shrinks, and rest of the anterior cingulate gyrus is all about being able to focus attention, becomes strong. That means the fibers become strong. So it's just not a story. It's just not a fairy tale. It's just not a mythology. It's just not the so-called spiritual concept. I'm afraid of this word spiritual. I don't know what it means. I just know what is meant by awareness. So when you are in that mindful state, fascinating. You know the story of KQ, who discovered that benzene ring. That was a very beautiful experience. He was half asleep and he just woke up and saw those three, serpents, and he said, "Wow, I found the benzene ring." And this Rene Descartes, he was just whiling away his time in a guest house, sitting, and he thought of All scientific ideations came, ideas came to Rene Descartes, and we still hold on to the the Cartesian model of understanding the world. It came as an intuition because he was in that mindful state. So the brilliance will come. Resilient people are brilliant with creative ideas. They innovate. They're at peace. They see life as ripples. They see things coming and passing, and they are very focused on the purpose of their life, which they have discovered on their own. Their compassion. Where is my compassion? Where is my passion? They have discovered it. I can't tell you what is your passion, your compassion. You need to develop the skill to discover it. So this is what resilience is all about, and this is what pandemic has told us. Be resilient. Look at post-traumatic growth. Don't talk about PTSD. Those who walk in my OPD in IIT hospital talk about PTSD. I tell them PTG, post-traumatic growth. Let us look at that. Let us work on that post-traumatic growth. Let us be resilient. Let us be mindful. Thank you very much. You have been very patient with me. I've almost talked about an hour or so. I've exceeded my 45 minutes limit. If there are questions, I would love to answer them. I have answers to some of your questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Barve, for such an incredibly insightful session.
Shaukat
Dr.
sir, I
Barve
can't
talked
hear
about
you.
the concept of mind
I
in
can't
the
hear
light
you.
of modern science.
Shaukat sir, I can't hear you.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you are, Shaukat.
Okay, Dr. Barve, am I audible to you?
You need to switch on your mic or something.
Just a minute, I will just check.
Dr. Barve, I think the issue is on your side because Shaukat is audible to everybody else.
I can't hear you.
Write it to the chat so that he can understand.
Shaukat, you can continue. I'm just typing it to him.
Okay. Dr. Barve, I think you can check your speaker.
Now I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Barve, for such an incredibly insightful session. Dr. Barve talked about the concept of mind in the light of modern science, about symptoms of stress and depression and how they affect academic and personal functioning. One thing he stressed is that we should never attempt to suppress emotional problems. Anxiety is pervasive and it affects all facets of life. Also, Dr. Barve discussed logotherapy or healing through meaning, the psychological theory developed by Viktor Frankl. His views on metacognition and resilience is an enriching lesson for further explorations in that domain. The way we think influence our perception of the world and the way we behave. Our thoughts are often unpredictable, irrational, and unrealistic. So we have to think about our own thoughts. That is metacognition before we yield to any of our thoughts. Finally, Dr. Barve talked about mindfulness. It is all about coming to the present and the presence, the here and now. Once again, on behalf of Student Wellness Center, I express my deepest gratitude to Dr. Barve. Thank you all for joining us today. Anisha, over to you to lead the question and answer session.
Thank you, Shaukat. So we've already started getting a lot of questions. I request the attendees to please type it in the chat because we'll not be allowing anybody to speak up. So the first question is from Nitya. She's asking, can journaling our thoughts help in regulating our emotions?
Okay. We are mixing two things.
I have not been able to do justice to all the notes that I made myself. How to handle thoughts is emotions is one very important point that I made is that acknowledging, learning the vocabulary of emotions, also being able to clearly word your thoughts, your concepts in as clearly as possible and communicate it to people, particularly emotions which are negative, which you find very painful. You can find a person with whom you can interact and talk, like a counselor or with maybe your close friend or someone who can listen non-judgmentally. So that is one way. And when you really have nothing, or when you have everything, in spite of that, you can still use journaling. Journaling is a very, very important skill which you can learn. And the journaling should be based on the real. Journaling is like taking your own video camera, all through the day and, recording everything that is passing through your mind in short. Second thing which I want to do is when your journaling is over, just add one more thing to it. Can you keep a journal of gratefulness? Can you keep a journal of gratitude? And gratitude is said to be the basic emotion in positive psychology. Because when we are grateful, when you feel gratitude, you always think of what you have. And when you know what you have, you feel grateful. And when you talk about this and that, you don't have it. So when you don't have it, you feel bad. So it's like find out what you have and make a note of very simple gratitude or grateful experience. Like the birds call, like the cat. I have a stray cat right down. She looks up and mews at me. It's just such a beautiful experience for me. The plants which open, they may sound very poetic, but they are indeed very simple moments. So journaling is a very powerful tool which people can use and students can use. Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Gaurav asks, for people suffering from anxiety and sort
Hmm.
of depression, can you tell the
Hmm.
duration of medication generally needed to cure these?
Okay. Number one is there is we need to correct things. A cure is usually in a distant future. Cure really happens only when you start healing from inside. Anxiety and depression could be deeply seated with some kind of unpleasant experiences, not necessarily in the past, but rooted elsewhere. So you need to understand them and heal yourself. But by and large, it takes 6 weeks for the antidepressants to show some action. By and large, it's 1 year, which is recommended for clinically diagnosed depression. Anxiety, it may be 3 months to 6 months. But you need to taper off the dose and learn to handle the negative effect of anxiety and learn to see it as a metaphorical as a wave coming and going. Then you can get over the tab medication. Medication is not your enemy. Students think that medication is मुझे गोली नहीं खानी है ऐसे मत बोलो ऐसे बेटे गोली नहीं खानी है ऐसे कैसे बोल सकते हैं because it helps you, it makes life easy.
Thank you, sir. Divyansh asks, when you get out of depression or other
Mhm,
issues and resume life, then you
mhm.
look at your past and realize that you have missed out much opportunities and you are
Okay.
behind the people around you in your life. Then you feel guilty about that. How to get over that guiltiness?
Number one, when we compare ourselves to anyone in the world, compare ourselves to anyone in the world, you always end up at catching the wrong end of the stick. So, number one, my dear friend, never compare yourself, even with yourself in the past. This is what you are right now, and this is what it is. So, asking yourself a question is the question is, what have I learned from this experience? What I've learned, how what is valuable in life? Who stood by me? Who were with me? Being thankful towards them, and how my journey has been painful, but I have reached a point. Maybe I'm a little behind. I'll take over someplace. Everybody doesn't have the same kind of destination. No, not at all. But this happens only because we are grilled. This is kind of conditioned in us that we keep on comparing human life with another human life. It is utterly wrong. We don't have to compare ourselves with anyone. There is no one like you in the world, Divya. You are the real only person. You are unique. As human beings, we are same, but as individuals, there is no one like us. So we are specific. We don't have to compare at all with anyone. Just see that experience, and then you will be able to. In fact, people have come out of depression and they said, I experienced something, I've reached the bottom of my life, and now I've emerged as a resilient person. This is post-traumatic growth for me.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Pravalika asks, could you please give us some tips on how to accept our negative emotions and not be very much affected by them on a daily basis?
Okay. Negative emotions are on daily basis. Let's put it this way. Negative emotions are daily basis. So understand, negativity is connected with survival instinct. We think negative because we want to survive. डर लगता है, डर बहुत negative है, लेकिन डर बहुत अच्छा भी है, क्योंकि when we are afraid, when we are anxious, we become more careful. So negative emotion is a label that you attach to an emotion. We see it as negative. It can be helpful emotion. So look at emotion as helpful and something which is distorting our vision. And very important, I use a metaphor to know how to, I don't say control, I say regulation is more important. It's like, how do you regulate it? Very simple. You are on a street and you see on the street there are three lights, right? You see red, you see amber, and you see green. Green says go, red says stops. And what does amber suggest? It says slow down. When there are negative emotions, don't you are being carried away by the negative emotions. There is something called a pause button. Just stop, just pause. Take long deep breath, exhale slowly. Take long deep breaths. Use belly breathing, abdominal breathing, and breathe out all the negativity inside you. Because every time you are feeling negative, you do create toxicity in your body. Your lungs contain more carbon dioxide because you are burning it very fast. So breathe out completely and calm down your body. See, this is just not a story. When you breathe longer, that means your breathing out is longer, you kind of stimulate a parasympathetic system in the body, which is basically a calming down effect. So negative emotions makes us very restless. That is a sympathetic activity. That's an excitatory activity, which pushes you to take action. Parasympathetic says rest and restore, rest and digest. So calm down. And how do you calm down? Breath is the best way that you can help yourself to calm down. And when you start breathing the right way, you will see that the negative emotion which rises slowly ebbs away. It's like a tide which slowly goes back. It can't stay there for long. If you study neuroendocrinal function, you will realize that moment the sympathetic system is switched on, there a parasympathetic system. Come, hold on, sister, don't rush. I am here. I'll calm down this person. But you don't allow the parasympathetic system to work because you are so much rushed into it. So allow. Pause, pause, pause. Amber signal says slow down, slow down, slow down. That works. And then you will
Sir,
be able to regulate your negative emotion. Don't be afraid of negative emotion.
thank you. Sruchi asks how to console yourselves when you're trying to express yourself to others, especially family and friends, but they fail to understand and end up giving advice like just move on.
Okay. See, the fault lies with my generation. That is your parent generation. We are perpetual advisors. The Indian community is perpetual preachers. I say you travel in a train, bus, and you see all kinds of advice is given. Leave aside Dhoni, Modi, Bush, anyone, Trump, anyone can give free advice in local trains because we are constantly advising people. आप समझ लो, their intentions are good to help you. That is all. Their intentions are good. So thank you very much, Mama, for saying all these good words. It really means that you care for me. Thank you very much. and let it pass. Let it pass. They speak. अपने यहाँ क्या है? लव का मतलब एंजाइटी. किसी को पूछो आपको उससे प्यार, हाँ उसकी मैं बहुत चिंता करती हूँ. अरे भाई, चिंता इज नॉट एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ लव. लव इज समथिंग डिफरेंट. तो बहुत एंजाइटी प्रोन पेरेंट्स रहते हैं, फियर ड्रिवन रहते हैं, तो एंजाइटी के कारण सब बोल देते हैं. तो उनको बोलना कि आप बहुत एंशियस हो, समझ रही हूँ मैं, इट इज ओके. You don't have to console anyone, just they feel it that way. See it that from their perspective. And this is a major problem. You stay with your parents after a long time. My son is coming back from UK. My wife every day tells me, don't advise now, don't advise now. So just be with them. Smile and say, thank you, Mama.
I guess it's
Or
a
then
two-way process, right, sir?
yeah. It's a bit of everybody is advising each other.
This
बहुत
is,
चलता है.
so the next question is from Sumit, sir. He asks
Yes,
how
Sumit.
to suppress the feeling of low self-esteem. As a stutterer, I am facing this regularly.
Okay. Don't suppress. Accept that you are a stutterer is a reality of life. That you are a stutterer is a reality of life. And stuttering is a wrong skill that your vocal cords have learned. The stutter is not here. The stutter is here. So we need to learn to get over the feeling of, because stutterer becomes self-conscious. They avoid talking, avoid crowds only because they might be stuttering. So find out new ways of communicating. Rather than answering questions, start with a question, ask people questions. So these are the tips with which you can work. But stuttering is something you don't suppress. Say that I'm a stutterer. Winston Churchill was at one time he used to stammer, but he was one of the biggest speakers in Parliament, in the British Parliament. So we see people who are stuttering. I mean, there are many people. One of the topmost leader, Nambudripad from Kerala, a very, very powerful man. He used to stammer, but he still became a most powerful leader in Kerala, Nambudripad. So it makes no difference. They say this, I stutter a little, I stutter a little, but give me some time, I'll be able to speak fluently. Simple. Accepting, no suppressing, accepting that this is what it is. Some people are squints. What do? They say, I am squint. People can feel conscious about anything, about the color of the skin, about the kind of nose that they have, kind of ears that they have. You can be conscious of anything for no reason. So never suppress, just accept it gracefully and say, yes, this is what I am. But beyond stuttering, there is a human being. And this is only a small part of my life. Let me accept it. And when you have this accepting mode, you will see that you will be able to overcome stuttering. One simple tip, speak loudly. Just speak a little loudly. Let the volume be a little loud and your stuttering goes.
I think, Sumit, that should be helpful for you. Though we are getting a lot of questions because there is a lack of time, I'm just taking the last question, sir. So this is from Pragya. She says that she practices mindfulness, but she becomes overwhelmed with anxious feelings on some days, and they don't go back. And then she feels that she cannot go back to practice for a few days. Is this normal? She also mentioned that she's suffering from OCD.
Oh, okay. The O was saying it clearly. Number one, anxiety, uneasiness are part of mindfulness. You need to recognize it, cognize it. Oh, I seem to be anxious today. And what do I do? No, it will pass. Why am I anxious? I should not be anxious. Yesterday I was not. Today I am. Tomorrow I don't know. These are judgments. This is what it is today. I seem to be anxious today. I'll just look at my anxiety. I'll see whether it passes. I will stay. If I keep on looking at it, it will stay. It will pass. I'm not going to crave for that tranquil feeling which I had yesterday. No. And don't give up. Just keep on going. And for obsessive disorders, mindfulness tells you a very simple story of the impermanence of the thoughts, which kind of cling to OCD. They cling, चिपक के बैठते हैं, because you value them, you validate them. You say, okay, this is a thought, this passes. Imagine yourself in front of a sea beach. You are on sea beach. You see waves coming, some small waves, some bigger waves, some yet bigger waves, some yet bigger waves. What do? I mean, they come, they hit the shore, and they go back. So all the thoughts come, hit your mind, and they go back. Some thoughts shake you, some thoughts just cripple. So obsessive thoughts, understand them as obsessions, interfering, intruding, unwanted. Let them pass. Let them pass. Let them pass. And if you don't perform actions, it's horrible not to do your compulsion, but just be with yourself. Just say to yourself, this is a trying time for me, but let me focus on my breath, because that is steady. The breath doesn't know there is an obsessive disorder. The air doesn't know that this is oxygenating a OCD patient or an anxious patient. No, it doesn't. It just oxygenates you. It just gives you energy. So focus on that.
Thank you so much,
It's a hard
sir.
time.
It has been a wonderful, having you around here, and these questions they don't stop. But unfortunately, due to the lack of time,
Yeah. I
Anisha,
have also,
Kundu sir, yeah, Kundu sir wants
yes,
to.
so
I have
just
some
1 minute.
questions. Yeah.
I would just like to tell the students that you can send in your questions to office.swc@iitb.ac.in, and we would try our best to answer them. Over to you, Kundu sir.
No, actually, I have some questions. So I raised my hand over there. So actually I had something, but this is so interesting, and I wanted to listen to you. That's why I stay here. And not only that one, since the students are asking the questions, so I will come to know actually the problems which they are facing. They are not coming, and also you are visiting the hospital. Also, the kind of things that you have already said. I wanted to get all this information from you also. See, the thing is that during this pandemic situation, that everything is, as you said, everything is completely different, and there is no regular kind of features that we can follow. It's a completely each and every day. The decision, the taking the decision, the situation that is very dynamic. So the thing being a Dean SA, I have two things. One is that I have to look at from the perspective of the administration, as well as I have to look through the student's eye. So both the things that I have to actually manage, and then come back to an optimal situation. I have all these two things in my mind. One is that as when we are actually thinking as far as the administration is concerned, I mean, what we always think about the students at this particular moment, specifically the students' safety as far as the health is
True.
concerned.
Absolutely.
And the second thing is that the career. So both the things need to go parallel to keep them safe. If they are safe, then obviously the other thing, which is the
Career.
career, if the career as well as the health both are safe when they are in the hostel or whether they are in this, then what will happen is that probably the stress will come down. So that's what our primary objective as far as the administration is concerned. That's what we try to do as much as possible. And also the other part that is also coming is that because of the kind of restrictions that we are imposing at this point of time, when the students who are staying in the hostel, also the students who are staying at home and learning on the online classes, going through the online classes, there are several difficulties. We all understand that. But only thing is that we have to optimize each and everything. And what is the best for this and the benefit of the students, we have to take this in. So
Absolutely.
it's not the question. It's actually I want to take the advice. I don't want to stop this particular talk right here. I want to take home something and then convey to the administration what can be done for the students to get away with all these things and bring back to them to the normalcy. So what is your advice to the administration You have given enough advice to the students how to tackle the situation, but to help them out and to bring them back to the normalcy, what is your advice to the administration?
Sir, I am at your service. Anytime, anything we can plan. I have actually planned. I'm actually running a program on mindfulness for general population, which is an 8-week course. For students, it can be averaged about 4 weeks course every week, about 2 hours or so. Students can enroll voluntarily, and we can have online meditation, online lectures, and they can come and ask questions. We can attend to their individual queries. But this is possible to do, sir. Most of the places people are doing that. I have been in touch with, I think one of the Ivy League universities. I don't recollect right now the name, but they are running these courses. Oxford is running these courses on mindfulness, and topmost people are coming and talking. So we could plan out something which is student centric,
Yes.
and for their own, like the students ask this question, how to handle this. So there are two things which I thought would be very important at this stage. One is talk about emotional intelligence, one which is very important, and also resilience. These two things are, they're interrelated, but it's worth having some longer sessions with students.
Okay.
One more thing which I had thought is, we want to know, sir, a little more about, there are some papers which are coming up about stress experienced in the institutes by students. We would like to have some sample survey of the students so that we know what they are really suffering from, how they are handling their families, how families handle them. What are they? What is the top shelf of their mind right now?
Right.
हम तो जो हमारे पास आते हैं उनसे बात करते हैं, लेकिन हजारों
Actually, yeah.
स्टूडेंट है, तो उनसे अगर हम कोई भी ऑनलाइन एक सर्वे करेंगे कि भाई आप you just respond to these 10 questions, and let's see, you can remain anonymous, but we want to know where IIT students stand today after 18 months. Where are they now? So that can be very useful. Based on that, we can design something.
Well, I agree fully with you, and I really thank you for your
Yeah.
really enlightened talk. And probably, I think that with the help of the core counseling team, we can do a little bit of survey, and for a
Yeah.
broader perspective, we take some kind of steps to
Yes.
help the students in this respect, and then so that they can. I'm sure that there are
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
45 participants, and one more time. I think that the many students who are not able to join because of their schedule
Yeah.
and other things,
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
they will also be helpful in this thing. So I'll be
Sure.
through core counseling team. I'll definitely get in touch with you and do something for the students. Huh? Thank you again from my side.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, Anisha,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Go ahead.
On behalf of Core Counseling Team SWC, I would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to Professor Kundu and Dr. Barve for being here with us and taking the time out. I would also like to thank all the students who have attended and who've been such active participants on the chat, unfortunately. Now, I also wanted to let everybody know that we will be continuing many such engaging talks with more professionals, and you can keep a lookout on the mails. We'll be sending out details. You can also go and check our YouTube link or YouTube channel, which is Core Counselors at IITB. This event was also streamed live on YouTube, but in case if you've missed some part, you can also go back and check. It will be there, so you can go through the entire video again. So thank you once again, sir. I would request the entire CCT team to please switch on their videos so that we can just have all the students. Hello?
Pinky, I think you should also put on the video. If Pinky is there.
Yes. So thank you so much, sir. Ma'am, Tagari ma'am, would you like to say something before we close the event?
It was a fantastic talk, Dr. Barve. You spoke very well. I mean, you speak very well all the time, no doubt about it. But this is something that I'm sure the students could relate to. I mean, you touched every part of the emotions which the students go through. And I'm sure that is going to be of extreme benefit to the students. Amazing question answer session, also. I mean, very, very satisfying answers. And Professor Kundu, thank you so much for staying on. And
Yeah.
I mean, it becomes very motivating, not only for the core counselors but for the students as well, to see you around. It really it helps. I mean, that
Yeah.
they feel one
Actually,
with
Presence helps.
they feel
yeah,
one with the dean then.
Actually, I want always to be with the students and with all these activities, but because of the other things. But this particular thing is that the reason I am here is actually to understand their problems through this complete
Absolutely.
question answer.
Yeah.
That only then only way I come to know. They generally don't approach to me and always having this kind of
Yeah.
talk and do something about this, but only I have to get the things from there. So that's why.
Yeah.
See, there is a definitely the IIT administration is always for the students. Only thing is that they need to know exactly the problems what they are facing at the ground level, and then only we can do something for the
Yes,
benefit
sir.
of them. That is the
Yes, sir.
only thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And when this reaches the students, they feel a part of the system. I mean, when they are able to hear what you are saying and you are contributing, it makes a lot of difference. The entire team also did a very good job, but a special smooth flow of the event to Anisha and Shaukat, fantastically hosted and fantastically taken forward. Unfortunately, I think technology is not helping Hima. It would have, I mean, she should be around actually, but
She's back, ma'am. She's back.
she's back. Oh,
Yeah,
great,
she's there.
great, great. So, uh, once again, thank you to everybody, and let's hope we meet again for more such events. Thank you, Dr. Barve, once again.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Wishing you a wonderful weekend ahead.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I
Thanks.
would just
Thanks
like
to
to
everyone. Yeah.
thank you
Bye.
everybody, Sir,
Thank you.
Dr.
Thank
Barve,
you.
and the team
Yes, yes.
for a fantastic event that we had,
Thank you.
and students also. Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Hima. Bye. Thank you, sir.